Welcome into Lunch with the Coach. Time to speak to the two coaches, Bryan Erwin and Bob Shipley. Guys, Longhorns win 16-13, but this was ugly. But I guess old ugly is better than old nothing sometimes. Longhorns survive in Lexington. I want to get y'all's thoughts on it. First of all, let's talk about this offense because I think that's on the tip of everyone's tongues. What do you guys think went wrong on offense? Bryan, I'll start with you.
47 yards rushing. That's where it starts. Again, you have to be able to run the football. We said it last week: run the ball, stop the run. We knew that going into the deal, and we got to, had to stop the run on defense, and we've got to be able to run the ball. We had 37 yards against Florida. We got 47 yards against Kentucky. Had a little bit more of a breakout against OU, but we also talked about to be great, you have to be consistent. To be a great team, to be a great offense, it's about consistency. So we don't have the consistency, and right now we're not able to run the football. We've got no punch, and first down and 10, we're getting a yard to a half a yard on first down. On first down and 10, they're rolling off 5-6 yards. They're in second and 4. It looked a lot like the Florida game, and our defense was on the field a long time. But again, we got to be able to run the football. We know Arch regressed the way. Whether it's the way Sark called the game, but him holding on to the ball, just a woefully small completion percentage. And that's just, I think those are the two things: lack of the ability to run the football at all, and a woefully low completion percentage. That is a recipe for disaster.
It almost was disaster. Bob, what'd you think?
Well, you look at the other teams that Kentucky has played, and, people have had success running the football against them. So after doing it against one of the best defensive fronts in the country the week before against OU, it's just disappointing to see a step back. First of all, when you look at the team stats, there's no way, if you just look at the team stats, everybody would put all their chips in on the team that won. I mean, it's not even close.
26, Bob, 26 first downs for Kentucky, 8 for Texas.
Yeah, and look at the possession.
Yep.
They had the ball 20 more minutes.
Yeah, it's like 39-20. Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. The thing I'm most disappointed in, guys, is that I felt like against Oklahoma the week before that we started to kind of, okay, Sark's figuring this out. He knows who our offense is now. He's starting to get some of the pieces of the puzzle together, because it's not just about talent and it's not just about scheme. It's about having the ability to mold those two together. That's what great coaches do. You don't just run your scheme no matter what your talent level is. You don't just do what you've always done. You have to play to the strengths of your football team, or play away from your weaknesses if you don't have any strengths, so to say. And so I thought this is going to be a fun game to watch, because we're going to see I think we've seen the foundation being laid for this offense. Although we didn't put up great numbers against OU, we're efficient. And then to go from that to having no offense and having a incredible punt return is the only time you get the ball in the red zone is on a punt return. Lucky. That's what we are. We were really lucky. And it's just frustrating, because Sark says, okay, telling the guys, we got to play at a championship level every week. Okay. Well, that's a two-headed coin there, because not only do the players have to play to a championship level every week, the coaches have to coach, and they have to call the game at a championship level. And we're not seeing that. We do not have, especially, having an offensive line, some injuries, some guys switching around. We don't have the ability to buy time for Arch. And yet we still don't have a short passing game. We're still waiting, and he's getting a hit. And then before you know it, he's kind of getting out of the pocket when nothing's collapsing, because that's just kind of SOP. That's just the way it is most of the time, and that's what he's used to. And so I just don't understand horrible blocking on the perimeter by our receivers. when we did try to get the ball out there quick. It's just a very disappointing effort, I thought, by the offensive line. Quarterback obviously was off, and running backs, when you grade all those guys and you look at them, you go, okay, well, yeah, it's hard to give the running backs a great grade with so few yards rushing. But guys, we only had a running back only carried the ball 6 times in the first half. How can you say that we can't run the ball against a team on 6 attempts? So we did try to come back and run the ball more in the second half, but it just wasn't effective because we're not getting any push off the line of scrimmage, and or Sark and Flood are not using schemes that our guys can do. Maybe they're not road graders. Figured out what they can do. Can they pin and pull? Can they counter? Can they do what, figure out what they can do and call the game.
And like you mentioned, Bob, it's scheme wise, the pin pull, which I'm not a proponent of, because you got to be even better, because that means if you pin and pull, you are in one-on-one blocks when you pin pull, instead of having the ability to combo in zone schemes. When you pin and pull like we did, kind of late in the game, I think it was in overtime when we got called for in overtime we got called for the holding penalty on first down. We're pin and pulling to the right-hand side, trying to run a sweep action, and we've got Brandon Baker soloed up trying to reach a 5 technique by himself. The 5 technique's got outside leverage on him. He's by himself. We're dependent upon him to reach the 5 technique, and we're pulling either a guard or a center trying to get outside of him. So by leverage, the play is not set up for failure, because we're asking guys to single block and overtake a defender that's already got leverage on us. There's a lot to that's more coach specific, but in the run game, it's all about leverage, with your offensive lineman creating leverage. But when you get into that pin pull scheme, which we did a couple times, we got a couple holding penalties for it. It means that you're soloed up. It's a one-on-one block. If that defensive lineman stunts, you better figure it out. But instead of having the ability to combo block and double team or double zone, or work an inside zone or an outside zone where you've got 2 linemen working to a down lineman, depending on which way he goes, then the other one can work up to the next level. I think another thing that Bob said that's real important, and I totally agree 100%, you got to figure out what you got to do. And at this point in time, it calls for, I think, drastic measures. You can't be afraid to change. And Bob, I'm not sure about you, but my coaching career, I ran the wing tee, I ran the spread option, I ran the 1-back spread, I ran the 2-back spread, I ran the I formation. We did whatever we had to do with the guys that we had, and create a scheme that allowed us to give those kids the best chance to win. And we've got to be able to do that. To Sark's credit, I will give him this credit. I think he realizes, what this team's made out of. I think he realizes he needs to punt the football if he's not in a perfect situation. He's going to play to the defense. He's doing a great job with that, in my opinion. He realizes the weakness. He knows he's weak on offense. He's going to punt the football. He's going to play fairly conservative. He's going to try to flip the field and let his defense, special teams, win the game. We've got to get a little bit better on offense. There's no doubt. We've got to get a lot better on offense. Does that mean we need to be putting up 35 points? No. We can win putting up 24 points. We can. So to his credit, he knows what we got. He's calling the right kind of game to set up his defense, for success. So, Sark hadn't forgot how to coach. Guys, it's just, we've been a part of this. Bob's been a part of it. I've been a part of it. You're struggling. You're struggling on offense. You don't have, exactly what you need. And one side of the ball is better than the other. 2 phases are better than the other. And it's very difficult. I'm telling you, I'm being honest. The worst feeling in the world as an offensive coordinator is when you lose your confidence, your kids lose the confidence, you're weak on the offensive line, you're not real talented or productive at quarterback, you're not real talented or productive at running back or receiver. And when you got that type of unit, it's tough. It's a tough deal. So keep grinding, keep working at it, keep trying to put, a win on top of another win, try to stay alive, And right now, you win this week, you got a chance. That's what I'd be telling the kids. You win this week, you got a chance. What chance at what? A conference championship, national championship. That's what you're trying to keep the hope alive. You're trying to keep the dream alive. Win this week, and you got a chance.
All right. I want to go back on something that Bob said in a second and ask y'all's opinion. And that's the discussion point about the lost opportunity, in my opinion, about of building on what happened in OU and not carrying it forward to Kentucky, and maybe why Sark didn't carry it forward. Was it something Kentucky did? Was it something that just wasn't possible? I mean, I want to ask you all about that. But first, I want to say thank you to our sponsor, Lunch with a Coach, each and every week, brought to you by our friend Laura Baker, Austin area real estate expert. If you're moving to, from, or within the Austin area, make sure you give Laura a shout. 512-784-0505. That's 512-784-0505. She's with Keller Williams and the Andy Allen team. Again, 512-784-0505 or Laura at andyallenteam.com. She's got all kinds of open houses and other aspects that she can help you with. Again, Laura at Andy Allen Team. Hey, guys, this idea that Texas is not building an identity. I felt like they had started to build one in Dallas. And then you turn on the TV on Saturday night, and it doesn't look anything like what they tried to do in Dallas. Is that something that Mark Stoops had a big hand in? Is that something that Texas just couldn't do because Arch was, sailing a ball over Ryan Wingo's heads on a crosser, or maybe there's a Mrs. Jack injuries? I mean, what is the cause of not building on that? Is it not getting the ball out quicker to a running back in the flat? I mean, they didn't really see that much on Saturday night either. But Bob, you have an idea on that?
Well, first of all, I would like to know what's going on. I mean, on their game plan meetings, what I would love to know those conversations that are going on in there. There are times, and I have honestly, I have not gone back and watched this game again. I just had such a sick feeling in the pit of my stomach that I haven't been able to watch it yet. But sometimes it seemed like they had like 9 guys, at the box, and then Arch can't hit receivers, and it's like Stoops knows that, that he's inconsistent, so he's going to gamble on stop the running game because they're going to stop themselves on offense or whatever. It seemed like that to a certain extent. But again, not working hard enough in the first half to establish the running game is a big sign that something is up. Maybe they have totally lost the confidence in their offensive line. I don't know. Maybe who knows? Like I said, I would love to be in those meetings to hear what's going on, but it was just the total opposite of what I thought we would see this week. Game. And, when it's, let's see, it was in the second, I guess it was the second quarter. I was doing the live watch with us, and, there's a 3rd and 2 play. And I said, okay, let's either throw a high percentage pass or run the football. You can, and then we run a double reverse pass. I don't understand that. And then, again, on first down, we the goal should be try to gain 4 to 5 yards on first down. That should be the goal, whatever that takes, and it's not throwing the ball down the field and missing a receiver by 5 or 10 yards, and that's one thing that I thought Kentucky did a good job of. They were getting ahead of the chains. And they were getting push, and they were getting 4 or 5 yards. Eventually, our defense would tighten up, but it's certainly something that is a head scratcher. And now going into Mississippi State, I have no idea what to expect. I'm just at a loss for words on how to describe what our offense is and what we're going to hang our hat on.
Bryan, what about you? What do you make of not kind of tapping into what they did against Oklahoma? Where it's the first time they looked like all year they could move the ball against a good defense was Oklahoma, and then it seemed like they went away from that against Kentucky.
Yeah, I think it's the run game issue. The lack of ability to run the ball versus the ability to run the ball like we did against OU can make everything look totally different. And I'm not sure that everything was totally different, except we were able to run the ball against Oklahoma, and we were not able to run the ball against Kentucky. That comes down to schemes. That comes down to maybe mismatches, possibly. Where were the mismatches with Kentucky versus where they were with Oklahoma, and the different types of schemes that we were running. So it just comes down to the running game, because when you can't run the ball, then that completely exposes you. And so I don't know that the plan was that much different, other than I thought we threw a few more screens against Oklahoma, trying to get the ball out quick into the flat, into the perimeter. We also checked the ball down to the back, either outside or over the middle. And getting the ball to the back is something we've done really effectively over the last few years. And Sark has always made that a huge part of our game plan. Last week against Oklahoma, the little pass we threw to Wisner, and then he slipped a couple tackles, ends up picking up 15 to 20 yards. Things like that. We didn't throw them. I didn't see many slip screens. I didn't see many screens. But just lack of ability to run the football. And when you rush the ball for 47 yards, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be very good. You're not going to be very effective on the offensive side of the ball. And we've got to get Arch running better also. He needs to the run plays that we're calling for him. I don't think he's executing either. He's got to hit that thing downhill, quit trying to bounce everything outside. Hit the play where it's designed to hit, drop his pads, hit in the A, the B, the C gap, and quit trying to bounce everything outside and use his speed. We've got to show some physicality. I'm just tell you, I turn on the game, show me a picture of their quarterback and show me a picture of our quarterback. Look at their quarterback when his helmet is off and he's got eye black on and it's streaming down his face and he's sweating and he's saying, let's go, versus Arch. I don't know if he broke a sweat. And so those are the little bitty things I've noticed. And we got to be able to run football, period.
Yeah.
We got to be able to run football and set Arch up for success in the pass game.
56 or 57 plays, I think it was, maybe 58 or 59 versus 86. So cause you to sweat a little bit more. The thing, Nick, let's talk about a couple positives, because there were some positives in this game on the defensive side of the ball, but in particular special teams. Guys, Texas did win this football game. The reason why, in my opinion, Ryan Niblett, Mason Shipley, and Jack Bomeister. 6 punts inside the 20 for Bomeister. 2 punt returns that led to scores by Ryan Niblett, and then Mason Shipley being nails down the stretch twice, not only at the end of regulation, but also in overtime. Bryan, you often harp on special teams. This was a big one for what you saw, right?
Yeah. Come on, everybody, get on board. I mean, you can do it. You can do it. You can win this way. It's not fun. It's not pretty. It's grueling, but you can do it. And this is where we are. So we need to embrace it. We're great on defense. We're really, really, really good to great on special teams. Ryan Niblett is showing some freaking courage. Those balls he's catching with guys in his face, not knowing whether he's going to get blasted, and he ends up taking those things back for huge returns. Baumeister, what was it? Did you say 8 inside the 20?
Six inside the 20.
6 inside the 20. He averaged 42 yards a punt with a long of 52, and then Shipley hitting a 52-yarder, and then a couple more going 3 for 3. You win football games this way. You win football games with defensive special teams. Frank Beamer did it a long time at Virginia Tech, won championships this way. It's not always fun. It may not be what the fans want to see. It may not make the scoreboard go ding, 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 ding. Sure, would we rather have an offense that we could also rely on? But right now we don't. So let's take what we got, because right now we are great in 2 out of the 3 phases. We are great. We are as good as anybody in the country at 2 out of the 3 phases. So let's take what we got. Let's stay positive. And, man, yes, hats off to Niblett. Hats off to the entire – because it's not just about Niblett and Balmeister and Shipley. It's the protection. It's the holds. It's the coverage. It's the whole thing. It's the whole unit. So all those guys deserve a lot of credit. And Jeff Banks, you know, hey, they're producing.
They won a game for Texas. Special teams won a game for Texas. They may have, and they definitely helped win last week as well. Bob, I had a question for you about the defense. Bend but don't break. It's agonizing as a fan, is it not, to watch your team move the ball down, but then they tighten up. And look, I mean, a little bit, it reminded me of the Kansas State game 2 years ago when I know the score was different. There were a lot more points on the board, but Kansas State had the ball inside the 5, first and goal from the 4-yard line and couldn't score. Well, what happened in overtime here is the same exact thing. Kentucky had the ball inside the 4 and couldn't score. I mean, is it just me, or is our goal line defense improved incredibly under Pete Kwiatkowski over the last 3 or 4 years?
Oh, there's no doubt. Yeah, there's no doubt about
it's
that.
It's as good as it's ever been, in my opinion, in the last 20 years, right?
And when you're on the field, as much as our defense is on the field, especially last week, it's you have to bend and not break. You know, you just have to do that. I felt like Anthony Hill had a slow start, but man, once the game got on, was he not money? I'm sitting here going, okay, he's great in coverage, but man, let's put this guy on the edge and let him rush. You know, which we've done more of, but I think the defense is playing great. You have to have that mentality. You have to have, at some point, you have a mentality with your secondary. In other words, don't let anything get behind you. Keep everything in front of you. You know, bend, don't break. You know, let them make the mistake. Let them start pushing. And I feel like that's what our defense did. You know, there were times that looked like they had guys that were pretty open. The difference is their quarterback was making those throws.
Yes.
Yeah. And we weren't. But still, you know, we gave up some explosive plays, but we didn't give up anything that really hurt us that bad, you know. And when you hold a team to 10 points or 13 points, I guess, you should
win the football game if you
absolutely. It should be.
Yeah, I was going to say this to y'all. You know, the longest play from scrimmage in that game for Kentucky came in overtime.
Really, the first play?
Yeah, the first play, the longest play. So that's how Kentucky moved the football. They dinked and dunked it down the field. To your point, the quarterback, Bryan, for them was very active and mobile, getting out and being smart about running. And
his completion percentage was extremely high.
Yeah.
You know, he was extremely high, and that's really what it comes down to as a quarterback. You know, remember the Colt McCoy days when, you know, Colt was freaking 25 of 28, you know, and just unbelievable high completion percentage. I think the other thing, you know, defensively, we created another couple of turnovers that we thought were going to be turnovers, the fumbles that we just missed. It was one of those nights, you know, I mean, where you're like, oh no, we know where this is headed. You know, this is going to come back and get us in the fourth quarter. When, you know, we had those 2 fumbles dead to right, we get those 2 fumbles, there's a good chance the game's not as close as it was. We got a great chance to put it away. The interception by Anthony Hill, we didn't get any points on. We had a tremendous field position, and we didn't get any points on that one. Two fumbles that we didn't get that we really should have gotten. That just, you know, that ball it's called a prolated sphere is what it's called in the rule book, and it's not round. It's a prolated sphere, and that thing just doesn't bounce right. So anyway, you know, crap. We really got to feel like we created 3 turnovers, and I know in the books it's just 1, but we didn't turn the ball over. Good news is we didn't. We won the turnover battle, and that's where Sark. I know he talked about that after the game. He's understanding if we can win the turnover battle, and we can play great defense, and we can play great special teams, and we can muster a way to score 20 to 24 points, we can beat anybody in the country.
Yeah, I think that's the recipe. And that's why I think I was so disappointed on Saturday night from a offensive perspective, because we didn't see the cohesiveness or the cohesion that we saw a week ago in Dallas against a defense that theoretically is substantially better than this Kentucky one. I mean, to Bob's point early in this conversation, Kentucky was they give up yardage running the football. That's what they do, and I mean, I think Kent State or somebody like that rush for more yards than Texas.
Hey,
so
Bobby, I wanted to add this too. It's maybe a conspiracy theory, but I feel like that. First of all, let me say that having the two longest tenured coordinators in the SEC it is a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
People are really able to get a bead on what you do. Here's where the conspiracy theory comes in for me. I'm just wondering. It seems like to me that everybody on Texas schedule, I mean, it would seem like, I know this doesn't happen, but it's almost like they all get together on a conference call every week and say, okay, what'd you think? What'd you think? And let's compare notes and what did you hear audible wise? What did you hear this and that? What did you see that you could have taken advantage of, but you didn't have the athletes to do it and we do, or whatever. But I also feel like the Stoops probably has the straight bat phone to Brent Venables, where you can pick up the phone and say, okay, what'd you think? What'd you think going in? What'd you think after the game was over with? Blah, blah, blah. What do you think they're susceptible to? What do they have trouble with that you didn't expose or whatever? And so the coaching network is a really tight, and if you have somebody in your circle, okay, they're going to tell you what you need to know. And so I know there's some of that going on. To what extent, I don't know, but I just feel like that Texas, and we've already talked about this a lot of times on OTF, numerous times, numerous shows, that when you play Texas, everybody's got you circled on their schedule anyway, But I just wonder if having PK and Sark for so long now in the SEC, people are starting to really get a bead on that, compounded by the fact that we're not as talented. We don't have maybe game breakers at receiver. We don't have the NFL offensive linemen that are making a difference right now. And without that, then Trey Wisner can't really do what he did last year. And I don't think our receivers are blocking as well on the perimeter. So it's just all, I'm not going to call it a perfect storm. That sounds like an excuse, but there's just a lot of things I think that come together to make this situation what it is today. But I wonder if there's a lot of things working behind the scenes against us in terms of coaches trying to find a way to, to knock Texas off, because we don't have a lot of fans. We don't have a lot of coaching warm fuzzy feelings in the SEC, I'm sure.
Yeah, I would say this to your point. If you're grading the offense right now, you can't say that Trey Wisner's lost a step or anything like that right now. Not to me. I mean, he's reasonably the same, and he was the lead guy last year. But every other position on offense is down year over year, except for maybe right guard, where DJ Campbell is a year older. And those are the two returning starters. Maybe DeAndre Moore's a little better. We don't know that really, but my point being that it's for whatever reason, whether it's the individuals or the scheme, they've got to figure it out on offense. They just do, and that's why I was so disappointed, because they didn't lean into what worked, I think, or even give it a chance in this game. It felt like he went for the jugular too often, too quickly, and didn't build into it. So anyways,
here's another thing that worries me a little bit. One more thing. The end of the game, regulation, DeAndre Moore makes a catch, runs out of bounds 1 yard short of the first down. You don't go and get the first down, and then you stop the clock. If he had not done that, did you see Diego Pavia, what he did?
Yeah.
I mean, that guy knows, yeah, he could have scored and been put up more Heisman stats and all that stuff, but he didn't, because he knew that was their opportunity to run the timeout. And instead of taking glory for himself, he slid down, and they were able to pull the game out. We have to have that mindset, and I don't know. Nobody knows. Surely they're being coached at, but you don't know. But I love a heads-up player that understands the game, that knows how to control the clock. We have not done a great job with our time management, and that's a whole nother show that we could do. But anyway, I thought that could have been disastrous.
I would also, I agree, Bob, and I'd also say this to counter that. I thought that was one heck of a play call.
Yes.
It was the play call we needed at the time. We needed to get that thing down there a little bit closer. We really need to pick up the first down, right? If we could have picked up the first down, bled the clock out, kicked the field goal with 3 seconds to go, game over. So we needed to get the first down. Tremendous play call on Sark's part. And yes, DeAndre Moore should have gotten out of bounds, but he didn't. Now the team's got to bail him out. That's what great teams do. The offensive line, step up, tight ends, step up, receivers block, get it blocked. But the team has got to step up and bail out that guy that makes somewhat of a mistake. And, it's 3rd and 1. You're Texas. Go get the freaking yard. Move the chains. Now let's bleed it down. Let's kick, the field goal, walk off field goal, and let's get on the plane and go home. And so, come on, bail the guy out. Step up and become a physical unit consistently, not every other week.
Yeah, I would say this. I question, like, if you're talking to because they have headsets now. I mean, if he's making that play call, Sark should have told Arch, hey, make sure DeAndre stays in bounds on this play.
Yeah, but you shouldn't have to. Yeah, that would be good. But you know what? Do you think Diego Pavia's coach told him that when he took off?
I know. Well, Arch did stay in bound against OU last week, and so he said. But my point being, that's the kind of thing. I also didn't like the first play call in overtime. You go wide zone, and you're giving the back 5 yards deep instead of actually just running some power or quick passing game to try to get 5 to 10 more yards there, because the other team had already scored 0. All you could do by running that, because it hadn't worked all week or all day, is give up 5 yards.
We've gotten a holding penalty on the same play. The other side, we'd gotten a holding penalty before. And like you said, that was the play where we asked Brandon Baker to do the impossible and hung him out to dry, and we get the holding call. So I agree with you, Bobby. Hit it downhill. Hit a counter, hit an inside zone. Downhill, go get 7-8 yards, kick the field goal, get out of there.
Yeah. All right, guys. That was a longer than normal lunch with the coach because we had so much to say there. Thanks again to our sponsor, Laura Baker, Realtor, Austin area real estate expert. If you're moving to, from, or within the Austin area and think you might want to talk to someone, make sure you reach out to Laura. She's a big fan of the program and a big fan of the Texas Longhorns, Longhorn grad as well. 512-784-0505. Laura at AndyAllenTeam.com. All right, coaches, thank y'all so much. Until next week on this show, we'll see you. Bob, you'll be on later tonight. Bryan, we'll get you back on Friday afternoon or Friday morning. Y'all take care, guys. Hook 'em.